Well, if you're just joining us, it is just past 1500 GMT and I'm Nastasya Tay. You're watching Al Jazeera and we are continuing breaking news coverage coming out of Gaza. Well, to another developing story now, and Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader and one of the most prominent figures of Hamas, has been assassinated in Iran. Well, Haniyeh's funeral will be held in Tehran on Thursday. He'll be buried in Qatar on Friday. Julie Daiger takes a look back at his life and the events that propelled him to become one of the most prominent figures of the Palestinian resistance. Well, as we were just discussing, the US Secretary of State is saying that Washington was not involved in the killing of Haniyeh. Antony Blinken also said the best way to bring the temperature down in the region is with a ceasefire in Gaza. Correspondent and Rami Al-Rifi, a cameraman. We will have much more on both those stories for you in the coming hours. There's also much more on AlJazeera.com. Do stay with us here on Al Jazeera. Well, it is now just past 1600 GMT. I'm Nastasya Tay. You're watching Al Jazeera. We are continuing our breaking news coverage coming out of Gaza. Al Jazeera. Well, this is not the first time the Israeli army has targeted journalists, many of them working for Al Jazeera. Cameraman Samu Abu Daka was killed on December the 15th. Well, Jodie Ginsberg is the president of the Committee to Protect Journalists. She says there appears to be a pattern to Israel's attempts to silence information coming out of Gaza. Well, let's get more on this with our correspondent, Hamda Salhut. Hamda, you've reported in the region, and as we've been hearing there is a pattern that has been emerging, especially since October. Well, to another developing story now, and Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader and one of the most prominent figures of Hamas, has been assassinated in Iran. Well, Haniyeh's funeral will be held in Tehran on Thursday. He'll then be buried in Qatar on Friday. Julie Daiger takes a look back at his life and the events that propelled him to become one of the most prominent figures of the Palestinian resistance. Held in Tehran on Thursday. He'll then be buried in Qatar on Friday. Julie Daiger takes a look back at his life and the events that propelled him to become one of the most prominent figures of the Palestinian resistance. Welcome back. Let's remind you of our breaking news this hour. Well, earlier I spoke to Hind Khudari, our correspondent on the ground in Deir al-Balah. She told me a little more about Ismail and Rami. Well, that's it from me, Nastasya Tay. I'll hand you over to Famida Miller. She'll be here in a moment with much more of the day's news. Stay with us.